Welcome to my daily review. Today is Thursday, June 26th, and you're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, which advanced another 194 points today, or 0.97%, and got awfully close to that old high from December 16th of 20,204. And that's kind of my benchmark here that I'm looking for. When it reaches there, then we'll see, if it gets a little bit of a profit taking or some selling there, or if it just continues to rally right through. But today, like I said, it was up 194 points, or essentially 1%. But you can see now it's 2.1% above its 10 EMA and 3.4% above that 21. And the 50 is crossing above the 200, and this is known as the golden cross. And there's a lot of talk on, financial news or Twitter or whatever that this is a big deal, because in precedent analysis, it shows that once the 50 crosses through the 200 after a bear market, we have a pretty strong uptrend, and it's sustained for quite some time. I told you earlier that, I expect each of these little rallies here to last anywhere between, like, I don't know, 12. Yeah, that's a nice rally. 12 and 18 weeks, some longer than others. There's your 27% correction. We've been at 11 weeks, so I'm expecting at least another 1 to 5 or 6 more weeks of rallying. You can see it's up 720 points just this week, 3.7%. But I want to get to this golden cross thing before I get anywhere. I have a lot of stuff to get to today, and I've been making really long videos. I'm trying to keep them short, but I'm going to go through some earnings. I'm going to go through some themes, and then yeah, I'm going to wrap it up with yeah, a little earnings tonight. So anyway, that's just the agenda for today. So I mentioned this golden cross here on the Nasdaq, where the 50 is going to trade through the 200. And if we look at I better go to the S&P 500 index, and you can see here that the same thing is going to happen here with the S&P. This one was up 49 points today, or 0.8%, closed at 6,141. Very close to that old high of 6,147. The high today was 646. So it's butting right up against that old high from what was this, February. So anyway, I wanted to point out here, how am I going to do this? All right, first of all, if you pay attention to the QQQs, which is just a NASDAQ 100, this has the ability to weed out the weak stocks and then include the stronger stocks. So that's why this index is valuable. Same with the S&P. They kick out the weak performing stocks, and that's what you should do with your portfolio too. Like, look at it every weekend, and just weed out the garden, weed out those weak stocks, and then include some stronger stocks. And there's a plethora of stronger stocks. I have them posted every morning for us at mcstockcharts.com. But here the 50 is traded through the 200. And so what's the significance of that? You see this cup with handle pattern here on the QQQs making new highs today. So this is leading, and the stocks that are in this one, the most, the Magnificent Seven, and also, Broadcom, and just a lot of big cap tech stocks. But I wanted to go back to the Nasdaq here for precedent analysis. I'm just going to go back 2 years, if you will. Stay with me here for a minute. This is the 2022 bear market, which ended in October 13th here of 2022. And then, the bottoming is a process here. It kind of took a little while, but eventually this 50, which was below, in 2022, it was below the 200 the entire year. Well, it crossed above right here on this big ramp day. It looks like a follow-through day here on March 16, 2023. The 50 ramped through the 200, and then what ensued after that? I'm just going to kind of click through here day by day, and you can kind of see, I don't expect this rally to mirror the 2023 rally exactly, but you can see that it had this long, like 16, 18 week rally. Then it undercut the 50. Not the end of the world. You got to expect some pullbacks from time to time. But as I click through here, we get into the fall of 2023, and we had that three waves down pattern. That was the last real significant correction before our what I would call our tariff correction here at the beginning of 2025. And I'm not going to do this, for the entire year, but you can see that the 50 above the 200 is pretty significant because it rallies even when it pulls back, it stays above. And here's a nice long rally through the spring of 2024. Now it undercuts the 50, and we're getting to the summer of 2024. I'm just going to get it up to June 25, excuse me, 26. Today's 26, and then shift it over to today's date. So you can kind of see, precedent analysis tells us that when the 50 crosses through the 200, we're probably going to see a sustained rally for, a significant period of time. There will be pullbacks along the way, but for me, this is very bullish. And I just take it one day at a time. I don't get too excited when we have a big rally and you make a lot of money in a day, or don't get too down when you have a bad day or a bad week. That stuff happens. It's part of trading. But this is my expectation. I've been talking about this for a long time. It's going to take out the 20,204. It's not a prediction. It's just my expectation. I mean, if it crashes and burns and down back below the 200, then you make your adjustments, But for now, I'm anticipating a stronger rally with some pullbacks along the way. And so I just showed you the last golden cross. We have another one. You're going to hear it a lot here in the next, well, tomorrow's Friday and over the weekend and probably through July 4th, which we're off next Friday. But anyway, that's what we have to look forward to. In my opinion, that's doesn't have to work out as it did in the past, but in the past it has been an indicator, and that's all it is an indicator that, good times are ahead, and people want to know why. In my opinion, once again, doesn't mean anything, but I think the market's pricing in some lower interest rates. We're going to get some rate cuts, and that's a catalyst. Multiples expand when we have lower interest rates, and it's good for the housing market, it's good for the economy, it's good for borrowing and lending, and it's good all the way around. Everybody wants lower rates. When you go to buy a car or a house, you don't want to pay 7% when you could pay 4%. I mean, it just stands to reason. Anyway, I'm going to get through some of the earnings reports from last night. MU had a blowout earnings and the stock didn't go anywhere, which tells you that this move here was pricing in, this move here is pretty powerful, and it was pricing in some good numbers. But, this thing could pull back to its 10. And by the way, I'm going to switch this thing over to the 5 now because I'm going to get into leading stocks, and they should be surfing the 5. Okay, so pull back to its 5. No big deal. I mean, and you're going to hear a lot of people say, well, from April 8th, it was up, 100%. Well, a lot of stocks were up, 100% from April 8th because they were down 70% from December to April 8th. Okay. So it's, it don't, when people start cherry picking dates like that, that doesn't really mean anything. Uh, but you might say that Micron had a blowout earnings. I mean, come on, triple digit earnings growth, but it might have been priced in a little bit. We've seen a lot of wonky trading around earnings, and this thing could just pull back for a day or two and then continue higher to 130, 135, 140. Just continue the trend higher. It just because it pulled back after the earnings date a little bit, a buck, doesn't mean it can't go higher the next few sessions. Jeffries reported the banks have been so strong. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But yeah, it was down in a pre-mark, and that's why you don't look at pre-mark. And during the session, it rallied back. Yeah, really sold off hard at the open, then came back and finished, positive. For those of you who are into the banks, WS, this is Worthington Steel. This thing had a powerful rally on a better than expected earnings, up 20%. Walgreens Boots, this thing's bought out. I'm not even going to show this. This is flatlining. MKC, this is the seasonings. You put on your, when you barbecue or you cook, you put on your salts and your peppers and your seasonings. This is McCormick food preparation stock. You can see pretty tepid growth. Nice response to the earnings, up 5%. And then AYI reported another, nice 6% move here out of this cup-shaped pattern. That's a nice move there, jumping above the 200. Anyway, the one I wanted to talk about this morning, excuse me, today was this morning I mentioned on the on my newsletter, my report, that this is a powder keg here ready to explode because it's a low float heavily shorted, 30% short interest, low float, only 1.7 million shares in the float. And I think it traded like, I don't know, 25 million and before, the market even opened. Traded crazy volume today. And this is Sinjin had a deal with average daily volumes 40,000, but I don't know how much it did today. What was it? 136 million. It was halted like 10 times. If I go to the minute chart, yeah, you can see all the halts here in the morning, big periods of halts here, and I even halted towards the end of the day. I Yeah, I might have traded this a little bit in the morning because I knew that the shorts had to get out. And so here's your short covering here as the shorts are getting out. And I was a little apprehensive because I had a sizable amount and I couldn't get out. And I couldn't get out. I ended up selling like at 24, about like 11 in pre-market, sold at like 24. And then this thing went up to 40 and my friend kept buying and buying. I was like, just get out of there. Just stay away from this damn thing. And eventually, it settled down. But that's what short covering looks like. That's an explosive move. Very rare to see something like that. It was up during the day over 500%, like I said, up to $40 here. You can't even see it on the chart here because it was like a $5,000 stock not all that long ago, and here it is. Yeah, seven. What is it? What is this? 84,000. I don't know. Anyway, it's $40,000 stock. I don't know what's going on here, but I just heard the report from NVIDIA, and I've seen this before with stocks like Serve. They get a contract, and then yippee this is way back here. I believe. And yeah, it just ramped. And that's kind of what happens. The shorts got to get out. Anyway, that's enough of that. I want to get onto my themes today. Very important for me. I think that you have to own, kind of like a shotgun type of strategy. You have to own a cybersecurity. You have to own semiconductor. You have to own some AI, software, data center, energy, construction, spread it around a little bit. Maybe even some gold and some oil stocks if you choose to, maybe even a retail name. Man, my retail and drugs have been getting killed. But anyway, I think you got to own one of the three, big three, or even four, or five cybersecurity names. This is CrowdStrike. It hit against 500 yesterday and got the Matombo treatment, was rejected. I said it's going to be like Arnold and I'll be back, and it certainly was. Take a look at a 10-minute chart here. There it was yesterday, hitting up against 500. Then today, it drove right through it, much like a GEV, which I believe I'm going to get to in a minute. We'll see about that. It's just so many themes to get to these days. So much going on, so much good things. I don't even look at any negative charts because I don't want that stuff getting in my head. This is a Zscaler, another cybersecurity name, just pushing away from this 3 weeks tight area. If you bought it in here and it ran up like how many weeks in a row? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then had this 3 weeks tight. Well, that would be considered like an add-on buy point. It's just pushing away from this base. It's not really exploding like DoorDash higher, but it's up, 3.5% this week. And the other one that I like in this group is Rubrik. Rubrik is up, yeah, 7.5% this week, and it just pulled back following its earnings. It went from 47 to 103, and now just consolidating. But I do like the fact that it is undercut the 21 and now rallied back above it. Today it closed at 2.5% above the 21, and I think either one of those, you can't go wrong. I like Palo Alto Networks. Someone at the site asked me about SailPoint. I like SailPoint. It's a recent IPO, just setting up in this base. Another one of these IPOs that undercut the IPO price, the low of the IPO day. Now it's forming this base. It ramped up after an earnings report, I believe, forming this little, I don't know, little ledge type pattern. It's going to break out of this eventually and break above 25. But yeah, nice tight little base there for SailPoint. Nice IPO, and we've seen a lot of IPOs doing well in 2025. All right, that's it for the cybersecurity group. I'm trying to move faster today, folks, because I have so much to get to. AMD, this is one that I had on our ready list, and I put it on again today. I know that it's way extended, but I just want to put it in mind's eye, put it on everybody's radar, and if it does pull back to this 5 EMA, which is what, 130, call it 138 today. It was 135 yesterday, 131 the day before. So yeah, you could see, not too long ago, it was what, 120, 125. So 125 to 137. Yeah, you could see if if that green line just keeps trending north and the price follows the green line, it's going to take out 150 soon. So I don't know, maybe by August, 150 calls or something. But they have earnings coming up, so we'll see what happens with AMD. Just think longer term, AMD is going to be a big winner, and I don't know if it's going to get back to those old highs of 227, but I think it's going to rally certainly back above 150, the 160 area. They're definitely doing well. The other one, of course, is NVIDIA and Broadcom. Those two I mentioned, they're in the Nasdaq 100. Breaking out of a base here, you could see the big base from 251. I would call this kind of like a double bottom. Pattern Rick's not really picking this up, but this is I don't know, double bottom-ish. How about that? And then rally back up and then had this little handle pattern as it wedged back to the 21 and now breaking higher. This is a big monster, 1.2 trillion stock. This is wow, and this one had a 3 weeks tight also. So Zscaler, DoorDash, Broadcom, it's kind of how the market was doing too, is kind of going sideways, digesting gains. But Broadcom's up 8% this week. And of course, NVIDIA, the big kahuna of all of them, up more than 7% this week. Closed above 155. So that 153.13 would be the buy point. I didn't put this one on because I had AMD and I don't want to get too heavy in the semiconductors, but that's certainly an actionable target for NVIDIA. What else do I have? ALGM. Somebody asked me about this one the other day. I like this one. Obviously, it's starting to get a little pushing away from that base here. This is a stage four decline. You got your stage one base, stage two advance, stage three, no more advancing. You got a huge stage four decline, and it forms a stage one base, and now it's advancing into stage two, the advanced phase here. So you want to pick up some of that. Other, looks pretty good to me. MPWR, monolithic power, consolidating here in a base. This is a stage one. This one looks pretty good to me. Another one that I was going to put on our ready list, but I didn't, but I'm, going to mention it here. I don't think I'm going to put it on Friday, but I'll watch this for next week if it can pull back. These things are getting a little bit ahead of their fives, and I like to get them a little closer, 2.5% above the fives. So anyway, that's cybersecurity, that's semiconductors, and I got to go to this aerospace defense group. This is the Elton John stock, the Rocket Man. It's hard for me to get behind these because they don't have any earnings or, they're losing money. Where's the return on equity? Well, there isn't any. Where's the cash flow? They're losing money. And so, it's kind of going up. We're all speculators in the market. You got to recognize that. We're all speculating that these companies are going to, take market share and have sales and earnings growth going forward. And so this is heavily speculated. 17 billion market cap for a company losing money is it's a bit of a leap for me, but this is a group that's supposed to be, futuristic and hot, and people are speculating this is going to be a big winner. ASTS is another one that's just been, this got very few sales, 17 billion market cap. I see what it's doing here. It's breaking out of a base. Technically, I mean, this thing is a thing of beauty, right? Breaks out of this base after a big, move. It consolidated for a long time. Then it just broke out, these last couple of weeks. We had it on our ready list. Like I said, it's a purely speculation. They're losing money, and if we look forward to the coming months, or excuse me, the coming quarters, they're expected to lose more money. So it's a 17 billion dollar market cap but I'm just showing you technically these things are, they're fantastic. ESLT, another one is aerospace and defense stocks. Pulled back to the 21. That one looks pretty good. Who else do we have here? Oh, HEI. Another one that it's just surfing its five, Heiko. And do I have more here? Oh, AV reported yesterday. More, like short squeezing, right? You're looking at a company with 27 million float, which seems like a lot to CYM, which only had 1.7 million, but 27 million is a very small float. You can see the earnings line ticking north, and this thing's breaking out. This is why I always say, got to take a step back, look at the weeklies, nice little sell-off consolidation, had the V-shaped pattern, like the market, consolidated for a few weeks and now popped, what, 44% this week. So, yeah, it's a heavily shorted name with a low float. So that's what happens with stuff like that. All right, I'm going to move on. Um, I've got to get to a couple more software names. I can't go too far without mentioning Palantir, kind of a defense software name. Just surfing, the five. I want it to break out and rip through 150, but it's going to do what it wants to do. And just acknowledge, what is it doing? Well, it's making new highs. Yesterday it made a high of 147.67. Today made another high of 148.22. So you're looking at, a series of, higher lows and higher highs. And that's kind of what this channel is doing here. It's just trading within this, channel. Yeah. So, I would even take it just like right here, more shorter term. And I think it's just going to trade right through 150. Like I said, if that green line just keeps going north and it just stays above the green line, you don't have to hold it very long to make money. A couple other data center software defense names. I think you have to have a data center play as well as your cybersecurity and your semiconductor and your defense. And this is Vertiv, definitely, surfing the moving averages as well. Who else do we have here? Oh, I got to mention CoreWeave because this is very interesting to me. It just pulled back. If you're, holding from 50 or 100, this is a pretty easy hold. But if you're a swing trader, I just, showing you a bunch of stocks that are just ripping higher and making new highs. And it's hard to sit in a stock that trades from, 150, 187 to 152. You're looking at $35 loss while all these other stocks are ripping. So it's an opportunity cost. You're just going to sit in here all week and hope that this thing, catches fire. I will say last week's low was what, 143. So this is just an inside week, 4 days in a row of profit taking. To me, in the weekly, it looks fine. It's just, it's hard to accept, day after day losses when, you could just go buy a Robin Hood and make money every day, so, or Palantir, a number of names, Roblox. So, it's just it's your kind of like your pain tolerance, right? If you have core weave and it's only like a 5% position and you could just sit in there and you have big gains and you could just kind of let it ride, that's fine. If you have a big position, I don't say you could sit in that thing as a swing trader. This is Roblox. Yeah, it's all fun and games, right? Just surfing the five. This is a thing of beauty right here. Nobody talks about Roblox. Super quiet. You can see the tight trading in here, $2 day, a $3 day, a $3 day here, 105 to 103, a $2 day. Yesterday was a big pullback, woohoo, $2.50. And then today it ramps up, gets to 2.5 and more. It makes a new high. So just quietly surfing the 5 EMA here. It's been more than a two bagger quietly. Nobody talks about Roblox, so I'm not going to say anything. Shh, mum's the word. Spotify, double bottom base here, broke out. This is kind of like Netflix, one of the early leaders of this new rally, I guess, since the I guess Liberation Day. So this has been in a couple months, just trending higher along with its five. Just a clear pattern here, folks. A lot of these are just showing just a clear pattern. Netflix, once again, surfing the five. It pulls back a little bit to the 21 and it just regains, keeps trading higher, and I think it's just going to continue to do that as long as the market's cooperating. All right, I did the defense, I did the software, I did the cybersecurity, I did the semiconductor. I know I'm going to go to some tech names, just some random tech names, not really random at all. This is Credo Tech. We had this one on a ready list last week as it made this like a wedge pattern. It ramped after earnings and then made this wedge and we put it on. Some folks got it and are holding it and it's doing fine, man. Making new highs every day. So Credo looks fantastic. TSSI, I don't hear too many people talking about this one. But it's making new highs. It's on our relative strength list and you really got to review that relative strength list every morning because, like I said, these stocks are not going to set up a nice little basis for you. The only chance you get is when they pull back, to the five, and that's what leading stocks are going to do. And if you're not comfortable holding that or trading that as too hot for you, then that's just your personality, and that's fine. Then you find, some slower moving stocks, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because a lot of this stuff is moving very fast and it makes people uncomfortable. This is Dave, which pulled back to its 21. Another one making new highs today. That one looks fantastic. SEZL pulled back yesterday. I mentioned that, hey, pullback, just take advantage of it. And then some people are saying that's not a pullback, Marty. I think it only went back like $5, but didn't even make it down to its 5 EMA yesterday. What the low was, what, 150, 153, and the five was 150. So yeah, it didn't make it back to the five, but that's might be all you get. And today it's up, another $9. So, if you don't hold that, yeah, if you don't own that one and you want to own it, what do? You wait till it pulls back to the five. Yeah, don't chase it up here at 164. It might go to 170 and then pull back to 164, as the five rises here, the five is at 155. So it might be next week, where you get a chance to buy it. And it might be at this price here, but you don't want to buy it, then have it pull back, $5, $6, and you're underwater and you're going, you start stressing and you sell it, you get stopped out. Anyway, what else do I have? Okay, I'm going to move on from this group and go to the building uh, heavy construction group, MTZ. These guys were working outside my house the other day. Some Maztec trucks. Said, hey, that's a sign, right? This thing just broke out of a cup with handle pattern. It's surfing its five. This is a slower moving name, but you can see the group is a top 20 group, and a lot of these stocks in this group I like a lot. Quanta Services making new highs, had your chance, and now this thing's gone. Sterling, I think I talk about this one just about every day. This is one of my favorites in the group. I don't know. It's just surfing the five. Looks really strong. PRIM. Another one that I like, little, not as, well, how should I say this? It's not near new highs. 90.86 is the new high. It's consolidating within a base, trading tight within a base, near the moving average. Had an inside day today. There's a lot of stuff to like here, but we want it to break out. 2.7% is not enough for us on a day like today. We want 8, 10% rippers. But that thing looks fine. TPC is another one. I don't know who these guys are. Tudor Perini, whoever Tudor Perini is, man, they're celebrating here up 4%, making new highs. This is one of the stronger names in this building heavy construction group. And I'm going to move on because like I say, I have a lot of stuff to get to. My friend Yuri Angelko Sola, the Croatian. Yuri he's the founder of this company, Sanmina. Since I want to say about 81, he came over from Croatia and started the company, grew it into, well, what is it now? 5 billion market cap company. But yeah, he's done well for himself. He retired, and the guy who took his place didn't run it the way he wanted. He came back, and since he's come back, this thing's been on a roll. House of Fire. Yeah, Sola knows what he's doing. 3 weeks tight, and once again, that served as an add-on buy point. It's really making new highs from there. So congrats to Yuri and Jelko. The Solas, yeah, it does my heart good to see that company doing well. They're very good friends and very generous people. So I like to see good things happen to good people. JBL, another one in this group, just got the David Ryan ants above its 5 EMA. All of these in this group are just, just it's like what do they say, shooting fish in a barrel, pick one, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. They're all going higher. They're all flexing like flex. Yeah, I mean, just man, this is a fantastic market. CLS, I would say this is probably the leader in the group, had the 144.27. This is one that I was going to put on the ready list at the beginning of the week. I didn't do it. Another one that I just beat myself up. I have to, run a lap around the block and do 50 push-ups or something. I'm an idiot. That really is a leading stock in this group, and it should have been on. Had a double bottom base pattern, V here, pull back. There's your little handle, kind of rallying up the fives here. gets that old buy point. It's still actionable, I would say, around 150. I don't think you're chasing too bad, but it's probably going to come back to that five. Yeah, it's 4.2% above the five, which was 144 today. So, yeah, don't chase it. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm definitely not going to put that one on. But I just wanted to point out that group is just really super strong. A group that is not strong is the retail group. And I'm going to get to a couple of them that are kind of outliers. This is CPNG. This is a stock that Stan Druckenmiller has. And as I say that, it's, the top six group. Grouping is one of them, I believe. No, this is a different one. Yeah, Internet Content is Reddit. So sorry. Bad call. Okay, another retail name is Shake Shack. This one's getting near its high point. Another one that I was going to put on this week, but I didn't because, the retail restaurant names are just really struggling. It's up 4% this week. Shake Shack looks pretty good to me. What does it look on the monthly here? Yeah, kind of a choppy mess. All right. So one of the rare, retail restaurant stocks that's doing well. Odd, one that, my buddy likes, but it's just not going anywhere. I put that one on the ready list. It's been, just flat this week. You couldn't get any more flat than that. I think I put it on our ready list. DoorDash, one of my favorites. This is going to be a model book stock. I'm sure of it. There's your monthly, IPO. I think this is just breaking out. It had this 3 weeks tight pattern coming into the week. Did I put it on my ready list? No. It's one of my favorite stocks. I own it, but it's up nearly 9% this week. Yeah, I just think this is one that you own, and I'm not trying to trade. Pretty easy hold here, kind of like Robinhood. I mention these almost every day because I because I own them. I think you should too, but you do whatever you want. This is Robinhood, very innovative company. I guess you could call it retail. I don't know, retail folks sign on and trade their life savings up, yeah, 2% today, just minding the five, just surfing the five. I think that's a pretty easy hold there. What other names do we have here? Oh, this one, the travel name. Our friend Andy out in Kansas he says, man, this thing is, there's a reason why this is going higher. And, yeah, it's, it's got, that looks like a typo, $57 in cash flow. Wow. No debt. So Avis, they try harder, man. That stock is just on a roll. That's a heater on top of a heater, man. Oh my God, 9.1% above the five. This thing's on a roll. 31% above the 21. So yeah, very strong stock. What else do we have here? Oh, Coinbase has been super strong with the stable coin news. Yeah, every day just going higher and higher. It's up a lot this week. 21% move this week. And the last one is HIMS, which is down a lot this week. It's down 27, my coin's up. But it had this news with Novo, and it's got that gap to fill there at 61.52. And I think it'll do it eventually, but this is like one of those deep seek January 27th, this vertical violation of the 50. It's going to take a little bit of time for it to get back up to that 61 level, but it'll probably start creeping and crawling and climbing back above the 50 and eventually get back there. Man, it was up 11% today. So, yeah, the deal with Novo is not the revenue, but the hint of litigation, and a lot of people don't want anything to do with litigation. But I don't think it's going to hurt their business that at all. Well, I shouldn't say at all. It's not going to hurt it that much. For it to be losing, what was it, 30% on Monday? 34%. Yeah. Yeah. Novo's not taking 30% of their business. All right. Anyway, that's the market just overreacts a little bit. All right. So I got him. Oh, yeah. I got to mention, I did at the top say the Nasdaq was up and these big stocks are driving it. We're partying like it's 1999 here. These are the stocks that were popular in 99, what drove the dot-com boom. This is Microsoft just making new highs. This thing's on a roll, and it takes a lot of demand to move all of this supply in Microsoft. And it looks like that was a 3 weeks tight closing as well coming into this week, but up 4% for the week. And then we have Cisco Systems partying like it's 1999. Excuse me, Prince. May you rest in peace. But, Cisco is on a roll. I know a lot of folks who work here and they tease me when it gets back to 80, which it's not even in the 25-year chart now. Wow, what is a 20-year chart? Okay, I need a 25-year chart. to get back to 2000 when it was at $80. So anyway, hopefully it gets back to 80 and they can retire. IBM, another one in this group here, just man, they bought HashiCorp, and I think that's going to be a big boon. They also bought Red Hat. This new CEO, he's a very savvy individual, and I think brighter days are ahead for IBM. And you can see this thing broke out of a base. Technically, I mean, it just broke out of a base and it's surfing its moving average there. That's this thing of beauty for IBM. And then Oracle, they reported 2 weeks ago. Yeah, had a nice big move, 24%. That looks like a little short stroke pattern last week. And then this week it's up, nearly 4%. So all those four stocks partying like it's 1999, and you can't deny it. Those things look fantastic. Couple other names I'm going to get to. The miners really quickly. CCJ looking very good. SBSW, I'm trying to, yeah, the miners are still a top group. AEM is one I believe I put on the ready list this week. A lot of people don't like the gold and the oil, and I get it. There's too many other things, but some oil stocks are moving. Here's Williams breaking out of this base here. So technically that looks very good. The bank stocks kicking butt. This is Deutsche Bank breaking out. Citigroup looking good. Bank of Montreal breaking out. JP Morgan, the big kahuna. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on that looks good. And like I said, there's bad stuff out there too, but I'm not going to show you that because I want to keep you looking at charts that are looking like this. And you don't want to look at charts anything else because you don't want your mind getting negative or thinking negative thoughts because you want to ride these waves. You want to surf like a Stephanie Gilmore or Kelly Slater. You just want to surf these moving averages. That's what trend traders do. And when they wipe out, and, they bend at the end, that's when you jump off the board and get onto something else. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. In honor of the great Steve Jobs, I do have one more thing. Stay hungry, stay foolish, stay humble. And oh yeah, I did want to show you. I mentioned the energy group. I don't think I showed you. Yeah, GEV looks fantastic. Here, another pretty easy hold. It hit 500, pulled back, formed this little pennant pattern, and then it ramped up above 500. And some people saying, "Oh, it's leaving it in the dust." And I said, "Not so fast." It was 522. What, on Tuesday, or was that yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, and today pulled back, went below 500 at 498. So it's not out of the woods yet, but to me, this 500 is going to be in the rearview mirror pretty soon for GE Vernova. VST is another one that I like. Just surfing the five. This thing looks fantastic. NRG had that gap higher and just, it didn't undercut the low of the gap day, just forming this little shelf. That's got to be like a 5 week flat base pattern, huh? Yeah, it had a 3 weeks tight. See, 3 weeks tight doesn't work every time it pulled back, but now it's breaking out this week up 6%. So anyway, the energy names are good. And the last thing I want to get to is Nike. They reported after the bell today. I mentioned retail is just in a real struggle here. There's a variety of reasons for it. I'm not going to get into it, but this is the type of charts that I don't want to look at. These things just been beaten down. There's no growth. There's no momentum. A lot of the other stocks that we've seen, and even the indexes had this V-shaped rally and back to new highs, and this thing's just like the patient that needs the defibrillator or something. This thing needs on life support. Anyway, I don't want to make fun of companies. It's a great American company, but they just need some new leadership. Speaking of new leadership, Starbucks hired Marissa Mayer and a couple people for their board today. They're really struggling. I think Bros is really eating their lunch badly. Yeah, and he's trying to. Brian Nichols, the CEO, he came over from Chipotle, trying to do everything that he can, but it's just going to be a struggle. I think it's more of a demographic thing than anything that he's trying to pull, but it got rejected. The Matambo treatment at the 200 pullback. And, just like I said, the market did this, right? And these stocks are doing this. So, it's underperforming the market. And we don't want stocks like that. We want all the stocks that I showed you before that. Anyway, at mcstockcharts.com, we never give up. Remember, you know what the golden cross is, and this has got to get all my gibberish out of here. And we're going to see the golden cross here. You're going to hear a lot about it, and the significance is that it's just another indicator. And in past, it's an indicator of more further gains, a further advancement, a sustained uptrend, and that's what we're looking for. We still have to select our stocks. You still have to select stocks wisely, and you still have to manage them wisely. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up.